Assalamu alaikum dear students. In the last lecture of chapter 4 Laws of Motion, we had derived the expression for final velocities after a head-on elastic collision, where we are getting the final velocities v1 and v2 as v1 is equal to m1 minus m2 upon m1 plus m2 into u1 plus 2m2 upon m1 plus m2 into u2, and v2 is to be given as m2 minus m1 upon m1 plus m2 into u2 plus 2m1 upon m1 plus m2 into u1, where m1 and m2 are the masses of the two colliding bodies, which is initially moving with the initial velocity u1 and u2 respectively. Then we had discussed the particular cases. If the bodies are of equal masses, that means m1 is equal to m2, then v1 would become is equal to u2 and v2 is equal to u1. That means the bodies after making the collision just change their velocities, which would be is equal to their initial velocities. The next particular case we had seen, if the colliding body is much heavier and the struck body is initially at rest, that means m1 is much greater than m2 and u2 is equal to 0. So, here we are supposed to consider m2 is to be neglected and u2 we are supposed to substitute the value in the equation for v1 and v2 as 0. So, we are getting v1 is near about u1 and v2 is equal to 2u1. That means here we can conclude the massive striking body is practically unaffected and the tiny body which is struck travels with double the speed of the massive striking body. Then the next case we had discussed, the body which is struck is much heavier than the colliding body and is initially at rest. That means m2 is much greater than m1 and u2 is equal to 0. So, by using the similar approximations we get v1 is equal to minus u1 and v2 is equal to 0. That is, the tiny or lighter object rebounds with the same speed while the massive object is unaffected. Now, let us have the next topic, collisions in two dimensions, that is a non-head-on collision. As a collision is nothing but in which two or more bodies exert force on each other in a relatively short time. Here, there are two types of collision between the two bodies. As we had seen already, head-on collisions, which is also known as one-dimensional collisions, where the velocity of each body just before impact is along the line of impact there. That means the velocity of each body before the collision is along the line joining the centers of the two bodies there. And the second type of the collision is said to be a non-head-on collisions, or also called as oblique collisions and commonly known as the two-dimensional collisions, where the velocity of each body just before impact is not along the line of impact. That means the velocity of each body before making the collision are not moving in the same line where the centers of the two bodies joining with each other. They are moving along the different line there. So, here in this case, the direction of at least one initial velocity is not along the line of impact, and in order to discuss such collisions mathematically, it is convenient to use two mutually perpendicular directions, which is shown in this figure. Now, we are considering the two bodies having mass m1 and another body having the mass m2. One of them is the common tangent at the point of impact. When the body having mass m1 is making the collision with the body having mass m2, as we are considering the body having the mass m1 is moving the initial velocity u1 and the body m2 is moving with initial velocity u2. Here we are considering that u1 is greater than u2. So after some time, for a very short interval of time, the body m1 reaches to m2 and hence they will collide with each other. As the collision is there, so that the body m1 exert the force on m2, and as per the Newton's third law of motion, the body m2 exert the reaction on m1. And over here we are joining their centers, and hence from the point of contact we are getting a common tangent there. So one of them is the common tangent at the point of impact, and along this there is no force acting. That means along this direction, which is to be considered as the common tangent, there is no change in momentum takes place. And the other direction is perpendicular to this common tangent through the point of impact. As the point of impact we are taking from the centers of the two bodies there. So another direction is to be given perpendicular to this common tangent through the point of contact there, and in this two-dimensional plane of initial and final velocities. So this another direction which is perpendicular to this common tangent through a point of impact is called as line of impact. Internal mutual forces exerted during impact there, which are responsible for change in momentum and are acting along the same line. Now from this figure, u1 and u2 are the initial velocities of mass m1 and m2 respectively by making an angle alpha 1 and alpha 2 there with the line of impact. Over here the velocity u1 is making an angle alpha 1 with the line of impact of mass m1, and u2 is the initial velocity of mass m2 which is making an angle with the line of impact there, while v1 and v2 are the final velocities which is making an angle beta 1 and beta 2 respectively with the line of impact of mass m1 and m2 there. So according to the conservation of linear momentum, along this line of contact, over here we can say that the total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum, as momentum is given mathematically product of mass and velocity. Here, as the mass m1 is moving with the initial velocity u1 by making an angle alpha 1 with the line of impact, so that with this line of impact the force is to be exerted on the mass m2 by m1. So here we have to take the component of this velocity u1 which is along this line of impact, and hence the component by making the angle alpha 1 of u1 is nothing but u1 cos alpha 1. So here the linear momentum along this line of impact, it is to be taken as m1 u1 cos alpha 1. This is the initial momentum of the body having mass m1. The initial velocity of the body having mass m2, where u2 is the initial velocity which is making an angle alpha 2 with the line of impact, and this mass m2 after making the collision with mass m1 gives the reaction to m1. Hence, the component of u2 is to be taken which is to be exerted along the line of impact on mass m1 there, and hence the component of velocity u2 along the line of impact we are getting as u2 cos alpha 2, and the initial momentum of mass m2 we have to write as m2 u2 cos alpha 2. So as per the conservation of linear momentum along this line of impact, the total initial momentum we have to write m1 u1 cos alpha 1 plus m2 u2 cos alpha 2, where this total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum of the colliding bodies there. So for the mass m1, after making the collision, the body mass m1 is moving with the velocity v1 by making an angle beta 1, and this angle is to be given with respect to the line of impact there. So over here the component of the velocity v1 we have to take as v1 cos beta 1, and for the mass m1 the final momentum for the mass m1 is to be given as m1 v1 cos beta 1. Similarly, for the body having the mass m2 is moving with the final velocity v2 by making an angle beta 2 with the line of impact, and that's why we are supposed to take the component of the velocity v2 along this line of impact which is cos beta 2 into v2. So the total final momentum of the colliding bodies is m1 v1 cos beta 1 plus m2 v2 cos beta 2. So as per the conservation of linear momentum along the line of contact, the total initial momentum is equal to total final momentum, and hence we are writing the equation 1 as m1 u1 cos alpha 1 plus m2 u2 cos alpha 2 is equal to m1 v1 cos beta 1 plus m2 v2 cos beta 2. Now, as there is no force along the common tangent which is perpendicular to this line of impact, as there is no change in momentum takes place along this common tangent. So when there is no change in momentum will takes place, so for the body having the mass m1, its initial and final momentum will be same. Similarly, the initial and final momentum of the body having the mass m2 will be same, as there is no change in momentum will be takes place because there is no force acting along this common tangent. Hence, we have to write the initial momentum of the mass m1 is equal to final momentum of the mass m2. The initial momentum of the mass m1 is given as m1 u1 sin alpha 1. Now over here we are supposed to take the sin alpha 1 which is the vertical component of the velocity u1 there. The horizontal component alpha 1 cos theta 1 we have taken along the line of contact over here. Now we are considering this common tangent. So obviously we have to consider the vertical component of the velocity u1. So that's why the initial momentum of the body mass m1 which is moving with the initial velocity u1 by making an angle alpha 1 would be m1 u1 sin alpha 1. As there is no force along this common tangent, so the final momentum of the body having the mass m1 would be same. As after the collision the final velocity of the mass m1 is v1 which is making an angle beta 1. So here the vertical component of the mass m1 we have to take as v1 sin beta 1. So the momentum, final momentum of the body having the mass m1 would be m1 v1 sine beta 1. So here we are getting equation number 2. The initial and final momentum of the body having mass m1 would be m1 u1 sine alpha 1 is equal to m1 v1 sine beta 1. Similarly, the initial momentum having the mass m2 is equal to final momentum having the mass m2 there. As mass m2 is initially moving with the initial velocity u2 there, and hence the vertical component of this mass m2, where u2 is making an angle alpha 2 with the line of impact, so its vertical component would be u2 sine alpha 2. So the initial momentum of mass m2, we are getting m2 u2 sine alpha 2 there, which is equal to final momentum of the mass m2, which is to be given as m2 v2 sine beta 2, where v2 is the final velocity of the mass m2 and it is making an angle beta 2 with the line of impact. So here we are supposed to take the vertical component of the velocity v2, which is v2 sine beta 2. Hence, as there is no force along the common tangent that is perpendicular to the line of impact, there is no change in the momentum. So the initial and final momentum of the mass m1 is same, which is to be given by the equation number 2, which is m1 u1 sine alpha 1 is equal to m1 v1 sine beta 1, and also the initial and final momentum of the mass m2 is same, which is to be given by means of the equation number 3, and it is m2 u2 sine alpha 2 is equal to m2 v2 sine beta 2. Now next, for the coefficient of restitution along this line of impact, we are writing the value of the coefficient of restitution. We are defining the coefficient of restitution mathematically as E is equal to minus V2 minus V1 in the bracket upon U2 minus U1. We are defining the coefficient of restitution mathematically as E is equal to minus, in bracket we are supposed to write V2 minus V1 upon U2 minus U1. As over here V2, which represents the final velocity of mass m2, but this velocity is making an angle beta 2 with this line of impact. That's why over here for this final velocity v2, we have to take its horizontal component, and hence it is v2 cos beta 2. Similarly, v1, which represents the final velocity of the mass m1, as it is making an angle beta 1 with the line of impact. That's why over here we have to take the horizontal component of the velocity v1, which is v1 cos beta 1. So v2 minus v1 here in this case is to be given as v2 cos beta 2 minus v1 cos beta 1, which is to be divided by u2 minus u1. And here again u2 is the initial velocity of the mass m2 and making an angle alpha 2 with this line of impact. That's why here we have to consider the horizontal component of the velocity u2, which is u2 cos alpha 2. And u1 is making an angle alpha 1 with the line of impact, and here we are taking the horizontal component of the velocity u1, which is cos u1 cos alpha 1. Hence, u2 minus u1 is to be written as u2 cos alpha 2 minus u1 cos alpha 1. So, by using the same definition of the coefficient of restitution, which is E is equal to minus in bracket v2 minus v1 upon u2 minus u1, here in this case is to be given as the coefficient of restitution along the line of impact as E is equal to minus in bracket v2 cos beta 2 minus v1 cos beta 1 upon u2 cos alpha 2 minus u1 cos alpha 1. And the same equation we can write when this minus sign is to be multiplied over here. So it would become, as minus sign we are multiplying in the denominator, so it would be V2 cos beta 2 minus V1 cos beta 1 upon this minus sign is multiplied over here. So U2 cos alpha 2 becomes negative and minus U1 cos alpha 1 would become positive. So in denominator factor we are supposed to write as U1 cos alpha 1 minus U2 cos alpha 2. Hence the value of E is to be given by means of the equation number 4, which is V2 cos beta 2 minus V1 cos beta 1 upon U1 cos alpha 1 minus U2 cos alpha 2. So here we know the values of U1, U2, alpha 1 and alpha 2, with which velocities and with which angle the initial velocities of the two bodies are there. We know these values. But after making the collision, what would be the final velocities of the two bodies and what would be the direction which is to be given in terms of beta 1 and beta 2, we don't know. That means there are the four unknown quantities V1, V2, beta 1 and beta 2 are there. By using the equations 1, 2, 3 and 4, we can solve to determine the four unknown quantities, that is V1, V2, beta 1 and beta 2. So here we had seen the collisions in two dimensions, that is a non-head-on collision, as well as we have completed the topic collisions. Let's proceed the chapter. Now let's have the next topic, impulse of a force. In case of a ball hit by a bat or driving a nail into wooden block with hammer, the force which acts for a very short time interval, and this force varies with time, hence cannot be measured easily. In such cases, we measure the total effect of the force, which is called as impulse of the force. According to Newton's first law of motion, we had seen that any unbalanced force changes linear momentum of the system. That is, basic effect of an unbalanced force is to change the momentum there. Then according to Newton's second law of motion, we come to know the rate of change of linear momentum is directly proportional to applied force and it will take place in the direction of force, and hence we come to know the equation vector F is equal to change in linear momentum with respect to time, which is to be denoted as dp upon dt there, and hence we can write dp, which is the change in linear momentum, is equal to vector F dot dt there. That means over here the change in linear momentum is equal to product of force and time there, where the force F is the amount of force which is to be applied on a body, which is to be considered a very large amount of force is to be applied on a body, and dt shows that the force is to be applied, hence the contact will be there for a very short interval of time. For example, when a ball hit by a bat, so over here the application of force is so much larger and the contact between the ball and a bat is there for the very short interval of time. So a very large amount of force is to be applied for a very short interval of time, and this product gives the change in linear momentum of the body there. So the quantity change in momentum is separately named over here as impulse of the force, which is to be denoted as J vector. So over here we are denoting the impulse of a force by a letter J vector, and according to Newton's second law of motion, now we come to know that the vector j is equal to dp, which is nothing but the change in linear momentum. So over here, if the force is constant and is acting for a finite and measurable time, so we can write the change in linear momentum in time t is equal to f into t, and this f into t is nothing but the change in linear momentum if we are considering the initial momentum as p1 and final momentum after the application of the force is p2. So change in linear momentum would be p2 minus p1. Hence the impulse is to be given as change in linear momentum p2 minus p1, which is equal to f into t there. So over here, for a given body of mass m, it becomes, we can write in terms of the velocity also. So the impulse j vector is equal to p2 vector minus p1 vector, final momentum minus initial momentum, as momentum is nothing but the product of mass and velocity. So the final momentum we have to write as mv2, where v2 indicates the final velocity, and over here p1 is to be given as mv1, where v1 indicates the initial velocity. So as for a given body of mass m, here we have taken out common m, and in bracket we are supposed to write v2 vector minus v1 vector. That means mass m is to be multiplied with change in velocity there, and this will gives as the change in linear momentum, and over here this is equal to product of force and time. Now if the force is not constant, but we know how it varies with time, then the impulse of the force is to be given in terms of the integration also. Hence we have to write vector j is equal to change in linear momentum delta vector p, which is equal to, here we have to take the integration of all the change in linear momentum. So integration of dp, which is equal to integration of f into dt there. So if the force is not constant, but we know how it varies with time, so we can integrate all the impulses over there, which is to be given mathematically as vector j is equal to integration dp vector, which is equal to integration of vector f dot dt. So over here we had seen the impulse of a force, and as the impulse of a force is nothing but the change in linear momentum of the body, and hence the impulse is a vector quantity. As impulse is a vector quantity, so it must have the direction as well as magnitude. Magnitude is to be given as the product of magnitude of the force and the time, or in turns it is the magnitude of the change in linear momentum. And when we are talking about its direction, so the direction of the impulse is same as that of the force. Now next we should know the unit of impulse there. So the SI unit of impulse is obviously is same as that of the linear momentum, as the linear momentum having the SI unit kilogram meter per second, or it is to be given as Newton second. So here the impulse having the same unit, that is kilogram meter per second, or we can give the unit of impulse as Newton second. As impulse is the change in linear momentum, momentum having the unit kilogram meter per second, that's why the impulse should have the same unit, that is the kilogram meter per second. Another form of the impulse we are given as the product of force and time. Force we are given the measurement in Newton and time is measured in second. So over here the force into time give the unit as Newton second, and hence we can write the unit of impulse as Newton second also. So here we can use both the units, kilogram meter per second or Newton second, as the unit of impulse. The dimension of the impulse is obviously same as that of the momentum, which is L raised to 1, m raised to 1, t raised to minus 1. So here we had seen an impulse of a force is a force which acts on an object for a short period of time. In a collision that results in a change in the velocity or momentum of one or more the objects involved in the collision. Now, the impulse is a certain amount of force that is to be applied for a certain amount of time to cause a change in momentum. That means we can say that the impulse is nothing but a certain amount of the force that must be applied on a body for a certain amount of time, because of which the change in momentum would be takes place. For example, when you hit a ball with a cricket bat, you apply a force for a time, a very short period of the time in this case, to cause a change of the momentum in the ball. Another example we are taking, that airbags in a cars are designed with impulse or momentum change principles there. When a driver gets into an accident, their momentum carries them forward into the steering wheel. By putting an airbag in the car, a smaller force is exerted over a longer period of time to change the momentum of the driver to a stop. So, in this example, here the force is to be exerted over a longer period of time to change the momentum of the driver to a stop. Let us take another example, as this principle is applied in many common sense situations. If you jump to the ground from any height, you bend your knees upon impact, extending the time of collision and lessening the impact force. As well as a boxer moves away from a punch, extending the time of impact and lessening the force there. So, here we can say that impulse is nothing but used to describe the effect of a force acting over the time to change the momentum of an object. Hence, we can say that impulse is a certain amount of force that is to be applied on the body for a certain amount of time to cause the change in momentum. And it is represented by the symbol J, and usually it is to be expressed in Newton second or kilogram meter per second. So, here we had discussed about impulse of a force. The chapter will be continued next time in the next lecture. Thank you.